Wow, this week in disc golf has it all. Prodigy has far larger problems than just their crap baskets. The preserve shines, Ricky extends his win streak, Bill Nye gets sponsored, and even a Gibson disc track. Yes, you heard me correctly. What's going on, all you disc generates? It's Swiss cheese with the disc golf world. You guys know by now I'm the one with all the holes in his game. We had an absolute blast at the preserve, so much so the nephew stayed back for the Majestic. You're watching This Week in Disc Golf, where I cover all things disc golf from the past week. Thank you to all the fans who stopped us over the weekend and those of you who are taking the time to watch, everyone who has subscribed, and of course, every member who contributes to the Patreon. Check out the nephew out at the Majestic Presser and some future interviews, so be on the lookout for even more content shortly. Got a ton to unpack, with Prodigy's roster dropping as quickly as Doc's subscriber count. Not even a week removed from KJ's quote mutual departure, another prominent player on Prodigy's roster with years remaining on his contract also in Vaino Makala departs mid-season. Vaino, who has been the face of Prodigy in Europe for a number of years of his nearly 10 years with the manufacturer, while also being arguably Europe's most popular player for most of those years in that span. For many, the KJ leaving the brand was justified as a bad contract tied to an underperforming player. Yet with the proximity of each player departures and the fact the moves are also in the middle of the season brought a ton of speculation, which included these moves to free up revenue for future free agent signings, or worse, foreshadowing a possible sale of the company or future bankruptcy. And for most, has us wondering exactly what in the hell is going on at Prodigy, and where do they just go from here? Griplock reached out to Kale LaVisca, part owner, for some clarification, whose words were translated on the breaking broadcast as he was not featured in the coverage, confirming that this move was in the best interest for the company at the time, and with KJ's latest performance, had an opportunity to remove themselves from the costly contract, saving a rumored $25,000 a month as Yuli and Hunter broadcast that salary range on Tour Life. While each of the Foundation podcasts also highlighted Prodigy's top brass, in a good faith effort reached out to Innova to help broker KJ's deal with a new sponsor. Add the Vaino speculation of him also landing with Innova, though not yet confirmed, certainly has painted Prodigy in a far better light in the court of public opinion, and certainly with these hosts. I'm sorry, this information doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies like Hunter, Trevor, or Brody for that matter, who I want to point out also have their own business relationship with Prodigy by offering their disc on all their retail spaces. For them and most of the public, these were unfortunate moves Prodigy was forced to do. Simply a poor business decision made in an unsustainable point in the market, and apart from being a difficult business decision, was needed to be sustainable. For others, this being one of the first stepping stones to the much anticipated settling of the disc golf market. However, what's lost in this narrative is the fact that it's all translated from a single side of the negotiation table, as KJ and Vaino are forced to remain silent due to rumored NDAs. No differently than Gann and Burr's situation after each side dropped their lawsuits against each other over a year ago, which was an absolute remarkable recovery from the preseason vitriol only for it to fade away by the end of the season, as Prodigy hopes for similar results after this latest news. However, with these latest actions, why would any player want to sign a long-term deal with this company at this point, if not for these performance opt-out clauses alone, which other sponsors may also incorporate in their contracts? I'm certainly not privy. But even if others do, Prodigy is the first manufacturer to use them to opt out of a contract to my recollection, and certainly the first to do so in the middle of a season. That is directly after litigating another player to remain on contract despite them wanting to leave in Gannon. Even if you believe the rumored contract is too high, Prodigy still offered, and KJ certainly played his way into that contract, which honestly was elevated by a flush COVID market, in an offseason where Prodigy was forced to make a move or possibly see three of their stars depart in the same offseason, in KJ, Chris Dickerson, and Katrina Allen. Yet since that contract, Prodigy has also been marred by a number of poor business decisions. In overhyped sports licensing agreements, mediocre player disc lineup releases, moving disc production overseas, missing commemorative disc for player wins, and their product's overall quality control. Yet, because we're told they helped KJ and possibly Vaino land a deal, the community and players are to blindly ignore all these poor decisions. And even worse, rumored poor treatment of a number of their previous players even prior to KJ, all of which just as detrimental as those contract extensions to the company's success. Yet it's the players who seem to continue to suffer, which for many in the business just might be the signs of the future of the sport, where players will be even further dependent on fan support, or even more examples of fans having to decide between brand or player loyalty yet to come. As for the future, many believe with these latest moves that Prodigy needs to lock up the Robinson brothers to long-term deals, re-establish player trust, and strengthening your roster with a better and smaller core of players. However, I don't see either of the brothers being marketable enough to pull this company much higher than they currently find themselves in. So signing them could leave the manufacturer in a similar situation down the road. It's already evident enough. Prodigy could not take advantage of Isaac's historic 2 major victories last season to escape the situation they find themselves in now. Instead, I would much rather see Prodigy take those estimated savings from the KJ and Vinyl contracts and use them to completely overhaul the company's marketing strategy, production quality, maybe even the brand itself, or at the very least, those damn disc names. Sure, it's the most easiest classification of disc, but no one really gives a about it. Instead, shine where you have found success by attracting and developing some of the best young amateur, junior, or Q Series players. Pour your support into these programs and less on the DGPT Pro Tour. Spend to keep their presence overseas, and use the few remaining signed players on your roster to re-establish Prodigy as a coveted landing spot. And the only way to ensure that is to take care of the players. Most importantly of all, produce the best discs possible. Fortunately for Prodigy, though, Silas Shultz drops a Drew Gibson diss track that just might have enough legs as the Hucktaw memes for many to forget this bad press altogether, despite it already being taken down. It began with Drew jabbing or roasting Silas for his touted form, screenshotting the story of him parking a hole at the preserve with some hitch in his form, while Drew goes on to mimic it, set with its very own laugh track, followed by an invite for the two to collab. I guess Silas could not let that aggression stand, and instead stood on business and obliterated Drew in a diss track, filled with absolute bars pulled from Drew's Instagram post, past, clout chasing, dad bod mentions. Nothing was off limits, including landing some strays with mentions of Drew's girl and Garrett Gerthy. The diss track certainly deserves a round of applause, because the amount of lines he was able to pack in that minute 30 track diced up Drew like a cheap hibachi chef. And that's despite its initial Kids Bop delivery with an accompanying hoodie. Either way, it has the community buzzing and just goes to show the older generation better think twice, because these Zoomers are nothing to with. And it's the closest thing to a heel play that disc golf has seen. Silas has proven yet again he's one of the most creative pros on tour, as this art, and that word is certainly no mistake, is just what the game needs to bring some excitement and engagement. The lyrics are solid, and though some might consider he went too far at points, certainly shouldn't detract him from making more. With its popularity, it has most of us waiting in anticipation like Bronny James watching the NBA draft. It would be foolish not to continue to roast more pros or stops in the future. This time, keeping the gloves on. Allegedly, Drew tried to respond, but I was unable to see it as Drew removed it quickly. But let's pass on that body like John Stockton and get to some actual disc golf already.
Beth at 69.
I just told myself, you just got to will this one in there. Whatever you have, just will it in there.
This man is unbelievable. This is what athletes live for. This is the moment.
This week also had the Preserve, which funny enough, with close races in both divisions, had a complete reversal of opinions from just last season, where many, including pros, were critical of the birdie or die course. But this stop's success could not be ignored. Was the second most profitable stop on tour this season thus far, second only to Portland Open, an Elite Series Plus, mind you. All this while missing some of the biggest names in the sport who opted out, and even poor weather. And don't forget landing a game-changing sponsor in Microsoft Team, an absolute insane gift that should be far more celebrated than it has. Fans turned out en masse, and with Kale's vision for the course playing out like it should, brought excitement from those watching from home. Add the property being large enough to allow for volunteers, DGPT employees, pros, along with their rigs to camp on the course. That and Hutchville's generosity that makes the property even more welcoming. The only lowlights was KJ's Innova announcement comically missing the audio, and the Prodigy baskets, as the bad press for the manufacturer didn't let up over the weekend. It was so bad, it had one of their few remaining players on their roster saying they suck on a hot mic. Isaac just might have PTSD after this weekend, enough to consider to not return after back-to-back years of spit-out lowlights. Hey, just maybe, Innova could save Prodigy yet again, this time with new baskets at the Preserve. Ricky Wysocki would take down the tournament, going back-to-back and for the third time in 4 years. It still has yet to figure out how to hold the damn trophy. Come on, Rick, get your shit together already. This victory would continue his now 14 straight years of him winning an Elite Series event or larger, a truly incredible feat. An Eagle on 18 earned Kyle Klein a solo second place finish, as his play has him knocking on the door for a win. Isaac Robinson landed a share of third place for his first podium of the season, while Matty O's final day had him tied for third also. For even more details, go check out Monday's weekend recap. Other notables people need to watch out for. How about Luke Taylor? Luke had some player buzz surrounding him last season. Landed his first top 5 and his third top 10 at dgpt events in a row, all with the Midwest swing upcoming, where his game is the strongest. Anthony Barella and Adam Hammes also had a return to the top 10. In the FPO, the battle between besties Missy Gannon and Holland Hanley took the bulk of the storyline, and that's with Katrina Allen out there at 8 months pregnant. Missy was able to edge out her BFF, Holland Hanley, who yet again had some final day hiccups that cost her late, while Rebecca Cox's final day was able to land her first podium finish since 2021, while Kona Montgomery landed in the top 10 for the first time since 2022. Over in Europe, Silva Saarinen has now won her 4th event in a row, taking down the Ala Open, while Daniel Davidson stamps his return to the top of the podium nearly 800 days from his last victory. Now, let's get to some quick hitters. Isaac must have wanted to get in on this roasting. Drops a your mom line to Tonus, or better known as the disc golf fanatic. I appreciate the effort, but that lukewarm oatmeal take is about as bland as it comes. The only time we've seen Kristen Tatar as of late is in ads, and this week would be no different. At least with this latest Porsche ad, she has a disc in her hand. Haley hits up the Mall of America, professes love for Avatar and rides Appa. Ella slap of the bass over at Hutchville. Me and Jefferson got to see this in person, as her along with other pros shredded in the final day karaoke session. Matt Bell takes home the Jackalope Cup, Hutchville's putt-putt course. Last, Bill Nye the Science Guy also lands his own collaboration disc with Innova. Also, I want to take some time to shout out some other content creators. Disc Golf Meme Tour with possibly the video of the year with the Matty O piece, and Berg Nerd with an epic video himself with the Innova lineup video. Both are must watch, and make sure to check them out if you already haven't. And guys, that wraps up this week in disc golf. If you have enjoyed and not subscribed, make sure to do so, as it helps fund another tour leg in this channel. Make sure to like, comment, and share, and if you want more, make sure to check out the previous episodes.